And then she looks down and watches as the doorknob slowly starts to turn. Holding back her tears, she falls back into a corner, and suddenly...
I thought this was supposed to be a script on sexual harassment.
It's just an idea.
Leonard's right. Sounds too much like one of those old movies you see late at night on TV. We need to come up with something that's subtle. You know, a little closer to what actually happens. And it does happen.
Okay, guys. We have to have the first draft of this script in by Monday. The topic of this training video is sexual harassment, and this is a training update. So what are we going to say about it?
If sexual harassment were not a continuing problem in the workplace, there would be no need for what you're about to see and hear. Unfortunately, the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas hearings did not end the problem. The hearings may have opened our eyes to the issue of sexual harassment, but awareness doesn't always change behaviors overnight. Though individuals are protected against harassment by Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, cases of sexual harassment continue to make headlines. Everyone is affected. Auto shop owners down the street, major industries, Supreme Court justices, even the President of the United States. According to the American Psychological Association, 40 to 60% of all working women have been affected by sexual harassment. But women are not the only victims. Men have also been pressured and harassed on the job. The emotional and psychological repercussions can be devastating. This video is designed to provide examples of inappropriate behaviors that should be avoided in the workplace. Take careful notes of what you see. You just might recognize someone close to you, or perhaps even yourself.
Okay, there are a lot of stereotypes out there. But what we want to do is show what sexual harassment really looks like and how to stop it from happening in the first place. Any ideas?
Boss tells his secretary to get coffee, do the filing, and wear shorter skirts.
Oh, subtle. Very subtle.
I think sexual harassment happens when a man
Or a woman.
or a woman is just too persistent. It is a form of sexual harassment when somebody just doesn't take no for an answer.
For example?
Well, let's say that a guy keeps sending this woman gifts and flowers and stuff, and she keeps trying to tell him that she's not interested.
I do not believe this.
Are those from Harry again?
This is getting out of control.
He's spellbound, and I know what I'm talking about.
I even tried to talk to his supervisor, but he just... I mean, how many ways can you tell somebody, no thanks, I'm not interested, leave me alone, go away, you know?
He is persistent.
But that's the trouble with Harry.
Hello, Lori.
Harry?
Hey, they rescheduled the
Hello,
meeting in
Harry.
here for 3 o'clock tomorrow. So I guess we don't need to be in here.
Harry, what is this?
I'm no expert, but they look a lot like roses to me.
Harry, this is the last time, okay? Please stop it.
Okay. So dinner, Friday night?
Harry, no.
Oh, so you have to work this weekend. I understand.
Harry, read my lips. Weekends are good. Call me tonight. Come to my office. You know what I... No. The answer is no. Not ever.
Hey, you can't blame a guy for trying.
But you can blame a guy for trying.
Yes, you can blame a guy for trying. If he keeps trying after it's been made clear that the answer is no. People have to understand that no never means yes. Regardless of how many times you ask.
Yeah, but I'm sure he wouldn't see himself as a sexual harasser.
Well, sometimes it's really more about power than it is about sex.
What was that?
Sexual harassment. It can be about power, or rather the abuse of power. Somebody uses sex or something related to sex to exercise power over another person.
And it doesn't necessarily have to happen between men and women.
Let's do a scene about a guy who comes back from lunch and he sees a bunch of his coworkers standing around his computer.
Now, this ought to make Al's day. Al's wife really looks like a model. Now that's a setup.
They're too close. Move the one on the left north. No, north by northwest. Now, make them bigger.
That ought to take up some memory.
This is a great program.
Hey, what are you guys doing on my computer? That looks like... it's my wife. Hey, get that off the screen, you guys. Get it off the screen, you guys.
We're just fooling around. I morphed your wife with Miss September. I can punch in Miss October if you want. Cliff found this great website.
Hey, it's not funny, Buster. Get it off the screen.
You gotta admit, she looks pretty good. Come on, you're the kind of guy that can take a joke.
Hey, you got the wrong man, boy. It wasn't funny last week when you had me on the...
Can't believe you let them do that to me. Is this what you do all day?
Get it off and get out of here.
It's saved under a file named Lisa, if you want to take a peek later on.
And then he can hear them laughing outside his office as they're walking down the hall.
You know, it's really disgusting.
I know it's disgusting. It's sexual harassment, and it shouldn't be tolerated.
So we need to point that out in the script. This is an example of someone creating a hostile work environment.
Hostile.
A hostile work environment. Hostile environment sexual harassment is any sexually oriented and unwelcome behavior that causes psychological discomfort or that interferes with an employee's ability to carry out his or her job responsibilities.
Where'd you get that?
It's listed right here in the manual as one of the types of sexual harassment. The other type is quid pro quo.
This for that.
What?
Quid pro quo. It means this for that. I took a semester of Latin in college.
It says here that quid pro quo applies anytime a supervisor or someone with authority offers a subordinate work-related benefits in exchange for sexual favors.
Or if they withhold benefits from an employee as punishment for refusal of sexual advances.
It also says that although quid pro quo is more obvious as sexual harassment, hostile environment sexual harassment happens a lot more often.
What if a guy, well, he just says something stupid, but, it's just an isolated incident?
Hi, how are you? Great party, isn't it? Have a good time.
Hi, Kathy. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for all your help on the lifeboat account the other night. You really did a tremendous job.
Thanks, and you're welcome.
No, I mean it. You're the best. I mean the best marketing.
What did you say? What did you say? My attorney will be in touch.
I'm sorry. What I meant to say is that we were all very impressed
Thanks. Excuse
with
me.
your work, and that I would just wanted to say thank you.
And so he just stands there kicking himself for saying something stupid like that. But
Has he done anything like that before? I mean, is it characteristic of how he usually acts?
no, not at all.
Sounds like he just stuck his foot in his mouth, if you ask me. I don't know that it could be classified as sexual harassment. At least, not yet.
And the alcohol was a factor there, too.
That's no excuse. Being slightly intoxicated at the time of the offense doesn't get you off the hook. Employees need to be aware of that.
An isolated episode like that, especially if it's a first offense, can usually be excused, as long as it doesn't happen again. But on the other hand, if he touches her...
If any form of physical misconduct is involved, it doesn't matter if they're friends or strangers on a train. Doesn't matter if it's a first offense or not. A sexual harassment charge can be substantiated. Simple as that.
Okay, let's put in a scene where a guy gets called into his boss's office. And let's say the boss is a woman this time. And she asks him to...
Close the door behind you. I'll call you back. Have a seat.
Thank you.
I wanted to tell you the good news myself.
I've got the account.
Well, not exactly. It's between you and Peterson. I want you. I'm having a hard time making up my mind.
Look, I worked very hard on that account. I talked with Myers 2 days ago. He's very close to signing. Very close.
How close is very close?
Very close is close, Miss Watkins.
It's Stephanie.
Stephanie. Look, I'll do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes are the operative words here, Bernard. Willing to please?
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
James, hold all my calls, please, for the next half hour or so, and make sure I'm not disturbed. Let's see you make your case, Bernard.
And he's sitting there, knowing what she wants, really wanting the account, but not at that price. I mean, people shouldn't have to make choices like that.
This is a good one because it's subtle physical contact in this case, but it's also quid pro quo. You see, her behavior indicates that she wants something in exchange for the account.
Sounds like your Stephanie is also a good example of the notorious space invader.
Space Invader?
The space invader. The one who invades your personal space by standing very close, with little touches, pats, hugs, all that touchy-feely approach, you know.
Well, yeah, I know some people like that. They like to stand real close to you like that.
I think it's a good idea to give everyone a wide personal space and to have a general hands-off policy while you're in the workplace.
I think it's also important that we point out in the script, though, that sexual harassment doesn't necessarily have to involve physical contact.
Write that down.
Just a minute. In fact, it doesn't even have to come from someone within the company in order for the company to be responsible.
Now, wait a minute. What was that?
You're kidding me.
No. If the company knows that any kind of sexual harassment is taking place on their premises and they don't do anything to stop it, they're liable. For instance, let's take a woman in her office and she checks her email.
Oh, whoever the psycho is, I wish they'd just stop it.
Stop what?
Somebody keeps sending me these warped messages on email.
Really? Like what?
I don't know, weird stuff like, "Dear Marnie, I'd love to be your blue jeans today." Sick.
Maybe he's into denim.
I feel like somebody's always peering through my rear window.
Well, why don't you just track it down in the system and find out who it is? There has to be something like a sender's address on the message. Then turn in whoever it is to security or personnel or whoever it is that handles that kind of thing.
Tried that already. Doesn't work. I even tried to reply to one of the messages, and the system just kicked it out saying invalid address. And then when I called downstairs, they said it couldn't be anybody on our system or they'd be able to trace it and on and on. I don't know. This internet thing just confuses me.
Well, at least you know they're not using the computers in the building.
It just sends me into a frenzy.
Sorry. Wish I could help.
Hey, Monty.
Oh, hi, Mike. They have you delivering mail in the afternoons now, too?
No, I forgot a few packs this morning, so I had to come back in. Just thought I'd swing by on my way out and say hello.
Okay, don't let them work you too hard.
Oh, I won't. Oh, and by the way, you look very nice today.
What? Oh, thanks.
Especially in those blue jeans.
And even though the guy doesn't actually work for the company, she can still press charges for sexual harassment against the company if she reports it to her supervisor and nothing is done.
But what about his statements, "You look nice today," or even, especially in those blue jeans? I mean, that could be construed as harmless. That can't be considered sexual harassment, can it?
One of the things we have to communicate in this script is that sexual harassment doesn't focus on the intentions of the person sending the messages. It centers more on the perceptions of the person receiving those messages.
So, if someone intended something he or she said to be, you know, just an innocent comment or even a compliment, but the other person perceives those same comments to be an unwelcome sexual advance.
Could potentially be considered as sexual harassment, yeah.
What if the person doesn't work for the company yet? You know, for example, let's say that we're interviewing someone for a position. Well, now, we haven't hired them yet, and the questions start to, you know, get a little personal.
Well, Mrs. O'Brien, you have an impressive application here. I have a suspicion you were very good at your last job.
Why, thank you.
This position may require an occasional shift that extends into the evening. Is that okay with you, Miss O'Brien?
Yes, that would be fine.
Have you a pager, Mrs.? Hey, look, are you married or what?
I beg your pardon.
Well, if we're going to be working together, I think it would be nice if I knew whether you were a miss or a missus, huh?
I'm married.
Are you
Married?
Excuse me?
Tell me, you are applying for a full-time position, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, do you enjoy getting together with the people from the office after work? Not every day, of course, but, you know, I personally feel it improves the working relationship.
And she just sits there dumbfounded that this guy's actually asking these kind of questions.
In this case, he would actually be violating employment laws that protect against discrimination and sexually harassing the applicant. And we have to point out that even if this guy is just naive,
Or uninformed.
or at best uninformed, which is pretty evident based on the questions he's asking, but regardless of his intentions, it's the woman's perceptions of what happened that are most important to the courts.
Reasonable woman.
Thank you.
No. That's what they call the guideline that the courts use in a lot of sexual harassment cases. It's called the reasonable victim standard. And it means that the courts typically base their decisions on the perceptions of the victim, not on the intent of the perpetrator.
Yes, but I think this script also needs to point out that although most cases of sexual harassment involve men harassing women, it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah, but we already approached that.
Yes, we did. But I think it's important to emphasize that there are a lot of different shapes that sexual harassment can take. And although most of them are very subtle, it's still harmful and demeaning to the individuals involved. For instance, let's take a college class in women's studies.
Okay. We've all seen how advertisers use sex to sell their products, using women primarily as an image, a commodity, if you will, to create a kind of psychological link between the product being sold and the sexual image in the ad, thus fueling sexual fantasies. But, is the advertiser to blame? Are they to blame, or the more graphic publications we spoke of earlier? Are they to blame for the increased violence against women?
I think that the advertisers have to take responsibility for portraying women that way.
Well, I think women have to take responsibility for the way they portray themselves. I mean, when a woman builds her entire appearance around trying to attract a man, in my opinion, she's just asking for it.
Asking for it? Asking for what?
Please, look. When women dress up like little Barbie dolls, all they're doing is sending a message to men that they want to be played with.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
Why? Because you're doing it? I mean, look at her, Dr. Forte. She's like the prototype of what we're trying to undo in this class.
It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault.
I'm serious, Dr. Forte. It's women like her who make men think no means yes. If she's ever sexually assaulted, she'll be getting exactly what she deserves, right?
Okay, let's move on.
And the professor goes on with her lecture as if the whole thing had never even happened.
I would drop the class.
But don't you see that's the problem? By not saying or doing anything, the professor allowed another student to create a sex-related, hostile environment that makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for her to stay in the class.
If it only happened once, I think it might be debatable. But if that kind of verbal abuse was allowed to continue and the professor didn't do anything about it, then I think she has a legitimate case for sexual harassment.
Okay. Let's do a scene about a woman who's pregnant.
I should be too much longer.
Take your time. You going to have a baby?
Yeah, any day now.
You know what causes that, don't you? Let's make a baby. True, that's swell. There she blows. About time. I like my women round.
It's all yours.
And even if he thought he was being cute, the way he treated her was totally unwelcome and even offensive. Some would say even abusive.
There sure are a lot of things to consider when talking about sexual harassment. Do you think we can put this all into one script?
I think so.
If there's a shadow of a doubt, that's what it comes down to. I think if you could have one simple rule on how to avoid sexual harassment, it would be if you wouldn't say it or do it in front of your spouse, your mother, or your children, then don't say it or do it at work.
I like it. Sounds good.
Hey, y'all ready for a break?
Yeah, man.
What do you say we head on over to Tony's and grab a cup of coffee? Terry's buying.
Yeah, right.
Failing to prevent harassment and inappropriate behaviors in the workplace has proven to be quite costly to many companies. The state of Massachusetts has passed legislation encouraging employee training on the topic of sexual harassment. Many other states are sure to follow. Sexual harassment in the workplace doesn't have to happen. Here are a few simple points to remember which can prevent sexual harassment and help to maintain a respectful workplace. It is always the perception, not the intention of the behavior that is important. Since it's impossible to predict how others perceive what is done or said, you should always err on the side of caution in the workplace. Remember to give others a wide personal space. Assume that your coworkers do not wish to be hugged, patted on the back, or touched in any way. The guideline is a good one. If you wouldn't do it or say it in the presence of your mother, a sibling, or your child, then don't do it in the workplace. It's that simple. And finally, if you should experience or witness any inappropriate behavior, report it immediately to your supervisor or a representative from your Human Resources Department. We can all do our part to end sexual harassment and create a respectful and productive workplace for everyone.